Today I'll be discussing with you the development, origin, or evolution or history of right to information in India. So there are two things. One, that is right to information in India, and second, Right to Information Act in India. When we talk about the history and evolution of right to information in Indian perspective, then we see that the history is very, very complex and long. And mainly we focus on three areas or three major sources which speaks of the origin and evolution of right to information in India. And the first one is the Constitution of India itself. You all know that that is the supreme law of the land. And second one is the decisions of the courts. The basically the Supreme Court, we can say, the judicial pronouncement. That is another source or major source of the evolution of right to information in India. And third one is also very important, and that is also one of the major source for the evolution of Right to Information Act in India. That is the role of civil society and various movements of the NGOs, non-government organizations. So they have also done a lot for the evolution of right to information in India. So we all know that from the constitution, we see that various judgments have been given by the Supreme Court by interpreting the provisions of the constitution. So from constitution, we see that it brings the verdicts of the courts. And when there are any judgments, when there are the decisions of the court, then from them the people's organization or civil society or the NGOs, they get inspiration to fight for the people's right. So in case of right to information, we see that these three major sources: Constitution of India, judgments of the courts, and the movement of the NGOs and the role of the civil society, these three are very, very important, so that we can have a look of this history and evolution of the right to information in India. But prior to moving to these three major sources, we have to see a little back in the ancient perspective also. And in that ancient perspective, because we have the constitution since 1950 only, and prior to that, what was the position in India, whether there was something like right to information, or whether there was something like state was there or not, or what type of the governance was going on, because right to information is required for what? Naturally, for good governance. Naturally, that the persons who are choosing their government, what the government is doing, how the government is doing, what type of the things are being done, whether it is resulting into good governance or bad governance. So these are the points which were important for the purpose of understanding right to information. So whether there was a good governance earlier to 1950, that is from the date of the enforcement of the Constitution of India. So what was the position? So for that, in ancient perspective, if we see, then we find that the source or the roots of right to information, or this freedom of information, whatever you say, that can be seen from various references which were found in the ancient literatures, ancient relics and epics in India. For example, if we talk about Rig Veda, and then that Rig Veda says that let noble thoughts come to us from all directions. कि हर तरफ से अच्छे विचारों को आने दीजिए. So that this has to ensure the environment of free flow of information from one place to another place. So everybody must know as to what are the opinions of the other persons, and let that opinion come from everyone, and then to work accordingly. So that may also bring an atmosphere and environment of free flow of information. So this is what we find in Rig Veda. Then if we go for Yajur Veda, then it also reflects a similar view. And it says that the king should be knowledgeable. And when we say that one should be knowledgeable, then where from that knowledge come? So for that knowledge of the king, it is also required that he must have some ideas from the other persons also. And that's why in Yajurveda, chapter 3, verse 50, that also speaks the same thing. And it says that the virtuous and prosperous king, it is required that he should be knowledgeable about the conduct of the other persons, about the conduct of the other persons, because he is a protector of the society. So as a protector of the society, as a protector of those persons, the king must know the things. He must have the knowledge from the sages, जो साधु संत हैं उनकी क्या जानकारियां हैं, उनके क्या opinions हैं इस बारे में. So this is all something which also we see as a source of the information. Then Upanishad, if we talk about the Upanishad, then it also reminds us about the broad-mindedness of the king, because it speaks of the inclusion of all in the governance, and it says that the king or the administrator, he must treat everyone as his own, and should develop the spirit that one should not hate with the other person, and it should remain neutral, it should be equal for all the persons, it should behave unbiasedly or impartially. So we see that this inclusion and tolerance, that promotes the ideas of exchanging the views and opinions. And when we exchange the views, when we exchange the opinions, then naturally it will be resulting into good governance. So the inclusion and tolerance, these two are very important for the purpose of promoting the views and opinions. And then after that, if we see Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, you all must be aware about the Ashoka the Great. And his was of Mauryan dynasty, and he ruled India from 269 to 231 BC. And he was the great propagator of tolerance of others' opinion. And if we see his writings, if we see his things, then we find that according to him, to harm another's religion is to harm one's own religion. Now, I am relating this with the information, so that to understand that tolerance is also very important, because that also something which is related to information, related to the opinion. And opinion are the basis for expression, opinions are the basis for enjoying your right to freedom of speech and expression. So as per Ashoka, we see that to harm another's religion is the harm of one's own religion. This was something which he said about. And then we see that he also asked the people to live with harmony, peace, love, and tolerance. And there were, during his regime, you see that rocks, there were inscriptions on the rocks. And he always advocated, he always encouraged that everyone should contact with each other. And one of the rocks, there was written that contact is good. दैट मीन्स कि एक दूसरे से मिलना अच्छी बात है, और जब एक दूसरे से मिलेंगे तो एक दूसरे के विचारों का आदान प्रदान होगा, एक दूसरे के विचारों का आदान प्रदान होगा, तो हम ज्यादा बड़े स्तर पर सोच पाएंगे, ज्यादा बड़े स्तर पर सोच पाएंगे, तो उसी के अकॉर्डिंगली we can speak also, we can express also. So one should listen to and to respect the others also, what doctrine they are following, what they are professing as per their religion, as per their thoughts. So one should listen to other person. So for that, exchange of views are important, and for that purpose, Ashoka, he always invited various religious conferences, other conferences of Buddhists, non-Buddhists, and which reflected that respect and tolerance. That is very important for the other sects and their opinion. And then during Emperor Harshvardhan, we also see that he also used to organize various workshops of the learned persons, so that their views may be exchanged, their ideas may come in. So this was all available in the historical relics and literature in India. then we see that tolerance and respect for others' views and opinion that provide an appropriate atmosphere for free flow of information. And there were used to be debates or shastras in earlier time in ancient perspective we see, and these shastras was nothing but the exchange of the ideas, the free discussion of these ideas, so that what your opponent is speaking, you have to speak on that. You may criticize that, you may have a free dissent for that, or you may have your thought and expression freedom for that. You can develop every thought on that. So this is all available during the ancient time, in ancient India, and that is all can be said to be having an idea of speech and expression, that is having an idea of right to knowledge, right to know, that is having an idea of right to information. So we see that when we come forward, then we find that in a democratic nation, because we all know that India is a democratic nation. So in a democratic nation, this freedom of information, that is very important, because this allows, democracy allows the participation of the people in the governance. And until and unless the people are not aware of, they are not having the knowledge, they are not having the information about the persons, then they cannot apply, or they cannot exercise their rights properly. So choosing the right things by exercising their rights, it is important that there must be freedom of knowledge, there must be freedom of information. And you see, Aristotle also says that if liberty and equality, as it is thought by some, are chiefly to be found in democracy, they will best be attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost. That is, if you find that there must be a good democratic nation, then the thoughts, the expressions of all the persons of that democratic nation must be shared in the government. And that sharing cannot be a direct sharing in a country like India, where a large population is there. So we see that can be done through the representative democracy, that can be done through the participative democracy, and that participation of people in the governance for choosing the right things, that is important, and that would be done only and only when the people are having the right to information or right to know. So we see that the major role of the constitution, the major role of the judiciary, and the major role of the public movements through civil society or NGOs, that are important, and through which we find that right to information law in India has emerged and evolved for giving this particular right to every citizen, so that the democracy could survive properly. Then another extension of this right to information, or the area from where it is emerging, is not only through the constitution, judiciary, or public movement, but the expansion of internet is also very important. And particularly during these 9-10 months of this pandemic, COVID pandemic, we see that the use or the expansion of internet is very, very enormous. Now we are on the virtual mode, and you see that this expansion of internet into everyday's usage, that increased and encouraged the demand of more and more information. And these informations are related to the public affairs, the governance, the business, civil society groups, entertainment, and so many things, including education. And this also is now having one of the factor to contribute in right to information, because today what we want to know, and within seconds we can have the information from the internet. And this is how the information from internet, that is also one of the major contributor for this information right in India. Then when we when we come to the first major role of or major source of right to information in India, that is the Constitution of India. We all know that this is the supreme law of the land, and certain fundamental rights are conferred upon the citizens, certain fundamental rights are conferred upon the persons, in part third of the Constitution. But we are confining ourselves only to Article 19. Article 19 is conferring certain freedoms on the citizens only. It is not available to the foreign nationals or otherwise. So Article 19(1)(a), that is speaking about the freedom of speech and expression. And there are other freedoms also in Article 19, like assemble peacefully and without arms, then to form association, unions, and to move freely throughout the territory of India. Then you can also have this fundamental freedom to reside and settle anywhere in the territory of India, and then to practice any profession or to carry out any occupation, trade, or business, whatever, in India. And these freedoms are available under Article 19 to every citizen. And prior to 44th Amendment to the Constitution, one more freedom was also available to the person, that was right to property, but that now has been deleted. So now we are having the 6 freedoms in the Article 19. And these freedoms are not absolute freedoms. And there are certain reasonable restrictions which have been imposed on each and every freedom. And now, when we talk about the right to information, then the freedom which is important and from where this right to information has been emerged out, that is Article 19(1)(a). This 19(1)(a) refers to freedom of speech and expression. So when we talk about the freedom of speech and expression, then we find that two terms have been used in this: speech and expression. Now, speech is simply what we are speaking, that is your freedom to speak. But when we talk about the expression, then this expression is something very important. And for that expression, we have to see the second major source of right to information evolution, that is judicial pronouncement. But before going to this expression, we must also know that this speech and expression under 19(1)(a) is not absolute. Why it is not absolute? Because there are certain reasonable restrictions on this particular freedom of every citizen. Because the first major source is the Constitution. So in Constitution, we can see that speech and expression is the right which is available to the citizens. And from that speech and expression, this right to information has been emerged out. And this speech and expression is not an absolute right, but there are certain reasonable restrictions over this particular freedom of speech and expression. And these reasonable restrictions are in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state. Then we cannot speak and express something which is against different relations with the foreign states. Then we have to maintain this public order by not speaking and expressing something. So this is another reasonable restriction. Then indecency and immorality. So we cannot speak the things which may be indecent or which may be immoral. So decency and morality is another reasonable restriction, you see. Then contempt of court. The court, we all know that in India, the judiciary is the fountain of justice, and that is also the protector and the guardian of the fundamental rights of the common man. So one should not speak or express something which is going to contempt of that court. So this is one of the reasonable restriction. Then defamation is the other ground on the basis of which one can be, stopped not to speak and to express something. Defamation is something that if you are speaking something which is not true, and that is a statement which is lowering down the reputation of the person in the society, or something which is not in good faith, then you find that this defamation is also one of the reasonable restriction. You cannot exercise your freedom of speech and expression in that way. Then lastly, one more reasonable restriction which is there under Article 19 true, that is incitement of an offense. That we are a country which is governed by rule of law, and in that way, if you are speaking something, you are, instigating someone, you are inciting someone so that an offense may be committed or a crime may be committed. So that type of the speech and expression you cannot enjoy fully, absolutely, because there is a reasonable restriction. So these reasonable restrictions, that sovereignty and integrity, security, friendly relations with the foreign states, and all this public order, decency, morality, and defamation or contempt of court, or incitement to an offense, these are the restrictions which are imposed by Article 19, Clause 2 of the Constitution. And you see that your fundamental freedom under Article 19, 1A is not an absolute freedom. So when we talk about the major source for the evolution of right to information law in India, the first source is the Constitution. So this is the article where from this fundamental right has been emerged.